with the limited time that I have here today, I'm really only going to concentrate on several key areas on the slides I want to present today. You all realize that we send these slides in about 2 months ago, and then we, a week before, try to figure out what we're going to say. So this was sent in. We're limited to 50 slides, and I've decided that I'm going to concentrate and show you a little bit of history, which is our Hong Kong footbridge system, our 10 footbridges in Central connecting to our 12 buildings. A little bit of soft side, something that's new, our branding of all of our Central retail buildings with the new landmark retail branding campaign. And then quite an exciting project in Beijing that's under construction right now. I was actually there on Monday for a meeting with the main contractor. It's a 1.5 million square foot development. It's only 32 meters tall, so you can imagine the size of the site, so connectivity is very important. And we've been designing the building since essentially the completion of the Olympic Games in 2008. We've been working closely with BIAD, who I believe may be in the room, and KPF, and it's been a labor of love. Sorry. I think separately, a little bit of a plug. I mean, Anthony does a good job of this on his watch when he gets up and speaks. When you registered, you got one of the CTBUH journals. At the very end, I'm not sure why they put me at the end, but at the very end of the journal, there's I think quite a good interview session that I had with Daniel Safarik on the 50 years of Hong Kong's footbridges. They asked me some very difficult questions. I think if you have 10 minutes, go to the end of the journal, read it. I'm not going to repeat it today, but I think there's some interesting things there you might want to take away from this conference. You see on the screen, that's not exactly going to be the cover of our 125th book, but hopefully by the end of this year, my managing director keeps saying, Jim, are you going to get this done? I'm the chairman of our book committee. We are 125 years old. Hongkong Land is an old China hand. We were created in 1889 when there was an opportunity to create new buildings on the reclamation in Hong Kong. The company was started in 1889, and in 1890, the founders of Hongkong Land, Sir Paul Chater and the Jardine Matheson Group, worked with the Hong Kong government and the British government to reclaim 60 acres, 25 hectares of land in Central, which is now basically the heart of the Central Business District in Hong Kong. We've enjoyed a long history through a couple of world wars, and we've grown up with Hong Kong. We've learned a lot. But as a property developer with a long history, what's quite good about being a property developer like Hongkong Land, we're allowed to innovate. We're allowed to experiment. We question what's going on. I love coming to these conferences because I go to the most provocative sessions. I apologize to the structural engineers. I don't really need to know about a belt truss because I have to suck my gut in every day. But truthfully, I go to the challenges of our cities, our urban habitat. I mean, we've had some fantastic sessions, but it's where are we taking our cities? Where are we taking our tall buildings? How are we going to connect them? How are we going to make them more livable? How are we going to make a more even-handed society? You can imagine coming from Chicago. I've been in Hong Kong 36 years, but I'm from Chicago. I have a bit of Democratic blood in me. I think the Democrats as a whole believe that we have to balance capitalism, democracy, and of course, providing for the society. So, as a company with 125 years, we've had the opportunity to innovate. Of course, we were very involved in the first reclamation in Hong Kong, as well as the subsequent 2 major reclamations. In 1932, we combined a couple of our existing sites, and we created the first mixed-use development in Hong Kong. At the time, it was called the Gloucester Building and Hotel. Retail, office, hotel. First time in Hong Kong. tallest building in Hong Kong at the time, 1932. World War II came. The Hong Kong Shanghai Bank had air-conditioned their building in 1935. We knew we had to air-condition our buildings. So after World War II, we restarted the company. What did we do? We bought land on the harbor front from the government, and we said, can we build seawater cooling pump stations? They said yes. So we built these seawater cooling pump stations and have been air conditioning all of our buildings ever since the mid-1950s with seawater cooling, all of our buildings to this day. And many of those pipelines are the same pipelines that we laid in the late 1950s. In 1963, long debates within the company, we created the Mandarin Oriental Hotel, which still stands in Central, but now has many hotels across the world, 11,000 rooms. We experimented. We gave up highly profitable office space to create a hotel brand. And finally, and 2 years later, we realized that our sites in Hong Kong are not very big. We needed to connect buildings. So what did we do? We connected Princess Building, the newly built Princess Building, to the Mandarin Hotel. Innovation and creativity. I'm taking a little while before I get to my first slide, but I wanted to kind of lead into what we're going to be talking about. Innovation and creativity are really what are going to be so important for our future cities. I said earlier, this is why I come to these conferences pretty much every year. I want to hear what you guys are saying. But I also want to challenge you guys. Many of you that are sitting here, I challenge regularly. I want you to be better architects and engineers to make our buildings much, much better. We'll listen to you, and we'll pay the money to do it. So, moving on. Just some quick slides that will kind of set the scene, and some of them actually Anthony stole from me in his presentation earlier this morning. But, you know, we've had footbridges around for many years. If you've been to Venice, this is a must-see. Again, this was shown this morning. We've known that going into the future, science fiction, that we will have connectivity in our dense cities. August Parade, houses in the sky. Don't just have them isolated, connect them. Mr. Hurrah, very, very interesting concept that now we see on a regular basis, especially in Asia. Some recent high-rise footbridge examples. I'm just going to flip through these because I think this is something that we haven't done yet. I want to do it. We haven't done it. I was just in Beijing on Monday, as I said, and I actually stopped the car because I was coming from a meeting. I just wanted to look at this building again. Fantastic building. Many of the examples in Asia, Middle East, North America. A fantastic development. The Hangzhou Civic Center, which I think many of you may be seeing on your trips. Excellent project to tour. Two of my favorite projects. We've built a lot of property in the last 15 years in Singapore, as much GFA as we have in Hong Kong. The Pinnacle at Duxton. Fantastic development, which was facilitated by the Singapore government, ARC Studio, the architects. And of course, to the right, a magnificent project by Moshi Softy, the Marina Bay Sands, which I get to look at every time I go to our Marina Bay Financial Center, which is right around the corner. So, a little bit of history. Hongkong Land's footbridge network. This is an aerial view between Jardine House on the left, which it's a building with all the holes. It has a very derogatory Cantonese name for it. Finished in 1973 at 180 meters. It was the tallest building in Asia for about a year. I'm waiting for George Binder to tell me which building then became the next tallest building after 1973. We've greened all of our footbridges and are continuing to renovate them as we speak. But all of us know how busy Hong Kong is. Truthfully, in the mid-1960s, it was just the same. The streets were narrower. We still had rickshaws moving around the streets in Hong Kong. It's like this all the time in Hong Kong. The footbridges allowed people to move around faster and more comfortable. This is probably the most historic photo that you can find. This was basically 1965. You can see the old Hong Kong Club building in the background, Mandarin Hotel on the left, Princess Building to the right. It changed Hong Kong. But we almost had it taken away from us. During our research on our book, we realized that the government was rather upset with us. Here's a picture of the bridge as it was completed. We started work. We stopped traffic. Everyone was excited about it. Took about 4 months to build. But all of a sudden, the Mandarin Oriental said, hey, we want to put seating on the footbridge. Somehow the press got the story. And it went into the press. And if you can read that, the government was not happy. They said, you cannot put seating on your footbridge. We will not allow it. The license is sitting on our desk. If you don't reply within whatever it is, we will not give you the license. So it's an interesting issue because you'll see some things later on when I finish my presentation. How should we use our footbridges? What should we allow on our footbridges? So this was actually something that was discussed back then. We were not allowed to do it. Subsequently, we have been doing, in little steps, more and more activities on our footbridges. I think you know our footbridge system. It connects, of course, within the central district of Hong Kong, but now it connects to the escalator system up to the mid-levels. It connects out to the new ferry piers and IFC2. There's a big plan now to connect it to the east. That's been slow in happening because the government's got to build a few footbridges. Essentially, it is a network that works. Key to the network is, of course, that we connect it to grade level transportation and below ground transportation. Many times we've had discussions with the government in regards to where are you going to put the new MRT exits and entrances. Can we link it and make it close to the escalators that we're putting into our new buildings? Our Chater House development, which was completed 12 years ago, we worked very carefully with the MTR and actually built the MTR's entrances so that they actually linked in with the escalators through our retail part of that building. Just some quick pictures of our footbridge network. In the lower right-hand corner is one of our newest little buildings, the Forum at Exchange Square. The Standard Chartered Bank has taken the whole building. We've greened the whole roofs, but interestingly, you'll see the footbridges, the open footbridges on the right, which connect to the Hong Kong train station, which have been reactivated by the work that we did on the plaza area adjacent to this new building, the Forum. Some of the other footbridges that exist in Hong Kong, these connect out to the ferry terminals, heavily used, nicely landscaped, a little bit of a nightmare with glass roofs. I always have debate with our architects, should we really put glazing on the top of canopies and walkways? But at the end of the day, I think having light is a benefit no matter what you do with a building type. Within our buildings, over the last 10 years, we've spent a lot of money integrating our retailers and our finishes, our designs, opening up views to make the footbridge, the movement experience through our buildings much, much more interesting. Armani has put screens to the entrance of the footbridge between Chater House and Alexandra House. We've opened up many of our footbridges, and of course the retail tenants have built their beautiful 3-story retail facades. We spent a lot of money going to Trieste, Italy, for the Orosina limestone to put in this beautiful floor through all of our footbridges and all of our retail podiums. It cost us a lot of money, but everybody loves it. So does the quarry owner in Trieste. Again, some interesting photos, which are, again, quite iconic that we use on a regular basis. But you can see that they're still missing something. I mean, they're narrow footbridges. Our narrowest one is about 4 meters. I think our widest footbridge is about 6 meters. We have to build wider footbridges if we're going to be able to make better use of them for other activities. Again, a few more pictures. I love the picture in the upper left-hand corner. We actually put one of our most famous Henry Moore sculptures, which is at the entrance of Exchange Square, right next to the government footbridge. We built a fountain around it, which was recently renovated, and it's one of the most photographic, iconic settings in Hong Kong as you move from east to west. That's the way we set it out. Christmas time, I think the first time we did it, I think, was 1967, and the government loved it. So everybody now does it in Hong Kong, but ever since the 1960s, we've been decorating our footbridges with Christmas decorations, Chinese New Year decorations, the lot. We have a lot of fun doing it. Now, we look at our retail portfolio. Our Hong Kong portfolio makes roughly 65 to 70% of our total profit as a company. Last year was our record year, and we made close to $1 billion in profit. In Hong Kong, our retail portfolio continues to grow. Our footbridges allowed us to expand our retail portfolio. But it was still missing something. It was 4 separate buildings connected by 8 footbridges. So what did we do? We rebranded Central. Central is a postal district. We decided we would take one of our most important buildings, the landmark atrium, and take it away from the landmark and brand all of Central as the landmark. We wanted to own our retail portfolio. And the only way we could do it with these 4 separate buildings was to rebrand our footbridges, rebrand our signage, rebrand our retail. So this has been an effort that started 2 years ago. It's still ongoing. I'm going to show you some interesting photos of what we've been doing. And this is a recent advertising scheme. You can see in the upper corner with the 4 lovely ladies, 4 buildings, 1 name. Down in the lower right-hand corner, 9 Michelin stars. We have a number of restaurants in our buildings that cumulatively have 9 Michelin stars. One brand. 3 generations, 1 family. 22 craftsmen, 1 name. So we're in the middle of doing this, but the retailers appreciate it, and it's adding value to our portfolio and to the public experience in Hong Kong. Now, new opportunities. This is a little bit lighthearted, but please bear with me. We just had a fantastic WWF Hong Kong wildlife exhibition with 1,600 papier-mâché pandas that were made by individuals in Hong Kong. And we got approval to put these all over our portfolio, but the most fun place they were was in our footbridges. Okay, but I'm going to pause and just jump ahead to one slide, which actually is a little bit out of order. Connected to our building is the Apple double height store, which was a 2-level footbridge, which has been unbelievably successful. I'm going to skip past that. Retail opportunities on footbridge. This is the retail connection through the central, the old Central Market, which allows retail shops to be on the walkway to the footbridges that connect to the escalator system and to the footbridges that connect to our buildings. We are hoping that in time, with wider footbridges, we will be able to do this on our footbridges. Pictures of the escalator system as we move up. Agenda. We've moved ahead with using our footbridges for artwork. Of course, I mentioned the Panda exhibition, highly successful. That's me in the lower picture. And finally, I wanted to go over a project which I mentioned earlier in my presentation. We call it Wangfu Central, Wangfu Zhonghuan in Beijing. It's a 1.5 million square foot retail development in Beijing. It's restricted in height because it's close to the Forbidden City. It's only 32 meters high, so we had to work very, very hard in regards to the connectivity of this development east and west, north and south, with fantastic views of the Forbidden City. As you all know, the site is governed by heritage and, of course, pedestrians. The Wangfu Avenue, Wangfu Dajie, is a pedestrianized part of Beijing. People have to go to Beijing. They have to go to Wangfujing. They have to go to the Forbidden City. So over the years that we've been designing this building, we looked at all the ways that people come into the site, how we were going to develop our project, how we were going to make use of the green area to the west, where we have to rebuild a courtyard house, and come up with something unique, flexible, that will last for a long time. This is a view from the opposite angle of the development. On the top 2 floors, this is really a challenge. The top 2 floors, we're building a new boutique Mandarin Oriental hotel, which again will be similar to the one we did in Hong Kong in the Landmark. I joke because this will be the first Mandarin Oriental hotel, which will be like a Holiday Inn in Chicago, but of course it will be a luxury hotel. We worked very hard. We gave a lot of space up to the internal public spaces. We have a lot of escalators, moving people from east to west, connecting to the retail spaces, connecting to the retail lobby, connecting across the road that splits our site into 2 portions. In the upper plan, we have a massive footbridge. It was the only way that we felt that we could connect the development and make it work. Some pictures, the upper picture is of the hotel plan, and the lower picture is we got approval from the local authorities to take over the whole basement level and make it as part of the development under the road. A picture of the footbridge that we're connecting to the 2 sides of the development. The footbridge is massive, 38 meters long, 18 meters wide. We made it especially wide so that we could make use of both sides of the footbridge. Arabs has got a little bit of a challenge because it's made out of a lot of tension members, because we wanted to keep the lower section of the footbridge as shallow as possible so that it did not affect the views of the retail shops on either side of the road. This is a section through the development. You can see it's a double height space which has viewing from the upper level of the development, the 4th floor. The 3rd floor is where the footbridge cuts across the 2 sides of the street. The basement connects as well with escalators up to banks of elevators on both sides of the street. But we then said, okay, this is now under construction. We've got to make sure this space will work. So during the day, normally, I think it's going to have places for seating. We've got cafes on either end of the footbridge. We will hopefully achieve what we did not achieve in Hong Kong in 1965. Fashion shows with the retail brands. Hopefully will be able to be held in the evening. Dining opportunities. Car shows. Where we're still allowing, say for instance for a car show, for the public still to walk through the space. It's wide enough that you can do this. So by 2017, we will have this project finished. It's not a tall building, but this conference is about creating great urban environments. It's under construction right now. We're on the B2 level. It's coming up pretty quick. But what we tried to do is we tried to have great public access from all directions, east, west, north, south, up and down. Remember, up and down. Put in more escalators, put in more lifts. That's a plug for the lift and escalator companies in the room. Create imaginative retail spaces. Create retail spaces, work with the codes in regards to fire compartmentation that allows the retailers to chop and change, move the arcades around. We try and do that all the time when we create a retail development. And of course, then make sure the public spaces, both internal and external, link together and can be used by the public, whether it's on the roof, the green roofs, the entrances, the courtyards, the internal courtyards, and of course the green area on the far side. For us, it all started in 1965 when we got approval from the Hong Kong government to build that first footbridge in Hong Kong. We connected horizontally to two 80-meter tall buildings, the tallest that were allowed in Hong Kong at the time. So, we were connecting to tall. But since then, we've carried forward the view that we need to connect our buildings, whether above ground or below ground, in Singapore, Jakarta, and now Beijing, 4 of the major cities, including Hong Kong, that we are involved with property developments. So, I hope you will all have the chance. I hope one of these days CTBUH may have a tall building conference in Beijing, maybe in 2017. I hope you'll be able to come visit our development and say, well done. This is an exciting new idea to take forward into new developments. Thank you very much. 谢谢.